Welcome to the Martin Bailey Photography Podcast. It's Christmas Day 2024 and this is episode 844. Well, 2024 is almost at an end, and I must tell you this year has been a whirlwind experience. I will share my top 10 selection of images from the year in a moment, but first I wanted to reflect on the year as a whole. I started the year as usual with my winter tours, now less than 2 weeks away from the 2025 season. I had been concerned about the performance of a few investments that I had made in the Isle of Man through a company that came to our offices a year after I moved back to Japan in 2000. I had committed to investing a manageable amount each month and added a couple of lump sums which were invested terribly. The financial advisor advised us on what we should invest in, and some of these investments completely bombed, while others clung on. Still, my significant lump sum investments only managed to clamber back to around 70%, and the primary investment grew gradually, although never as much as I had expected. And then the Japanese yen took a dive, which was good for my investments in UK pound sterling. I stood to make around 150% more on my investment than I would if the yen had not weakened. So I started to think about cashing in my policies early to benefit from this. Then serendipity kicked in. One of the guests on my first winter wildlife tour was an incredibly generous and helpful financial advisor from the Isle of Man, who confirmed what I'd suspected. My policies were just about the worst I could have invested in. The advisor I'd been with over the years had been selecting policies based on his commission rather than what would have given better results or returns for me. I'd already asked for details of my surrender options, but this meeting lit a fire in me, and by the time I'd completed the winter tour season, my surrender request was in full swing, and I got the funds around the end of March. I'd lost money on some of the investments, but the weak yen had swung in my favour, so I now had enough money to buy a house, which has been my dream for decades. I've kept you in the loop on the new house, but to briefly recap, we found a lovely new house in the Gunma Prefecture at the northwest tip of the Kanto Plain, surrounded on 3 sides by beautiful mountains, and in the closer proximity encapsulated by some supermarkets, a garden centre, as well as hairdressers for my wife and a drugstore for when we need some drugs. We can essentially live almost entirely within a 5-minute circumference, which isn't very appealing now, but as my wife and I age and probably have to give up our car, it will make life much easier. We are both at the age where we need to start thinking about this. The only remaining concern was that the house that we found didn't have solar panels, and I really wanted to reduce our carbon footprint. So, for the sake of the environment, we have just applied for a loan via a company that will install a solar power system that should be capable of powering our house through the seasons, leaving us with little to no necessity to buy any additional power. With a bit of luck, we'll make enough electricity most days to sell some back to the electricity company, which will help. I did, of course, have a lot on my plate after the move, and that started with the summer visit to Namibia, and then I've spent a lot of time finalising the finer details of our house, including landscaping the back garden and making a start on the front garden. We now have a Japanese maple at the back and a mikan, which is like a satsuma orange tree, alongside a persimmon tree in the front garden. You may be able to tell, but I've been very happy as I've sorted out the final details. But it hasn't been an absolutely rosy year. The tax office at our new location decided that they don't like how I handle the taxes on payments that I receive for my Japan-based tours, despite my previous tax accountant and I visiting the tax office in Tokyo and getting full approval for our accounting method. We have worked that way for over 10 years without a single issue. I have provided details of the meeting, including who agreed, but the new local office has not paid my requested rebate and is still debating whether or not to force me to change my accounting. I love our new location, but I have been disappointed by this, and I'm hoping that things will be cleared up, hopefully in my favour, very soon. You'll have noticed that, as I expected, I have wound down significantly on the frequency of the podcast. Still, I honestly expected this to be more of a natural winding down, to spend more time enjoying life with my wife, but the reality has been a little different. I seem busier now than ever, and constantly feel like there are not enough hours in the day. For a few months, that was partly because I was spending time preparing for some archery competitions, which are important to me. But as the winter sets in, I've been working hard to prepare for the upcoming tours, and my archery has taken a backseat again, probably until the spring now. I am, of course, now looking forward to starting our winter tours and meeting the new guests, along with some old friends who are signed up. It's just before noon as I write this on Christmas Day, and almost 6 o'clock when I actually am sitting here recording. And I still have a bunch of stuff to do, so I was hoping to talk about each of the images a little bit, but here is the top 10 images for the year that I've selected from my work for the entire year, and I'm just going to put it into an album and let you take a look. I hope you have a few minutes to do so. If you do go through this exercise yourself, please take a moment to share a link to your own work in the comments section at the bottom of the post, and the post is at mbp.ac/844. I look forward to seeing what you made of 2024. As we say goodbye to 2024 and welcome in a new year, I hope and pray that the world will become a better place in the coming year. I won't go into details, but the actions of a few specific leaders continue to sadden me deeply, as does the inaction of many nations that I thought would know better. I hope and pray that we see an end to this madness sooner rather than later. Enough is enough. Thanks very much for listening today. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider supporting us on Patreon at mbp.ac/Patreon. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, X, LinkedIn and Threads, and links to everything that I'm up to are at martinbaileyphotography.com, so do drop by and take a look. I'll be back in the new year with a few new episodes as I get started and come back from my winter tours. In the meantime, you take care and a happy new year to you. Bye bye.